Hello, Elisa here, and this is commentary for Dr. Puppet, Episode 4, Smoke and Mirrors. I have a real soft spot for this episode. It's one of my favorites, and it was actually done in the least amount of time of any Dr. Puppet episode. Only 6 weeks from start to finish, which is pretty astonishing. The reason for this is that in the summer of 2013, YouTube had something called Geek Week. I was invited to make a Dr. Puppet episode that would premiere as part of Geek Week. I thought it was a really neat opportunity and I really wanted to be a part of it, even though they only gave me a 6 weeks notice of Geek Week, which really isn't enough time to make a stop motion film. So I had to make some accommodations in order to get it done in 6 weeks. The biggest one was to have an all-white background to really just eliminate the set. And it actually worked out really well because this was always meant to be the dream sequence episode, and having a white background only made it more dreamlike and ethereal. It also worked out really well for the Master, who was always going to be in this episode, and his black costume and his black hair makes him stand out really, really well. That's why I wanted to even push the silhouette further and do those hand-drawn sequences to really make it just as weird as possible. And I really wanted it to be the Roger Delgado Master just because I knew that he had the least chance of ever being on screen with the 11th Doctor. So I wanted to, put them together in this episode because it'd probably be the only way we'd ever see it happen. I actually didn't know a lot about the Roger Delgado Master. I hadn't seen many of his episodes, so Scott really helped me there. He made a lot of great suggestions, like using the TCE. Of course, Scott's greatest contribution to this episode is the music. Just listen to how good that score is. You definitely need to rewatch this without me talking over it. The score was mostly inspired by Wendy Carlos, and Scott created that sound using his modular synthesizer, which he had just built, and that modular has also appeared in the score of every Dr. Puppet episode since, but this is still one of my favorite scores. And now we are out of the dream sequence part of the episode. You can tell the Doctor is no longer dreaming because he is wearing the hat and the rose that he picked up in the previous episode. He didn't have them on in the dream. And of course, here is an appropriately brief appearance from the 8th Doctor. Just like the real 8th Doctor, he shows up, he doesn't stay very long, he disappears, and then much later he shows up again. I wanted to set the end of this episode in St. James's Park because I had visited that park on my first trip to London and I thought it was pretty great. I especially loved all of the birds that I saw there, including the pelicans, which I thought were so cool because we don't have pelicans in our parks in New York City. And I'm a pretty big fan of birds and Doctor Who, so that's why you see a lot of birds in Dr. Puppet. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening.